Vendetta is Overwatch's newest hero. The first true melee DPS hero to ever be added to Overwatch. Doomfist does not count. These are my sort of first impressions after playing with her over the weekend during the hero trial. If you enjoy it all or find it helpful, please do like, comment, sub. Really helps, especially for smaller channels like this one. And check out the stream over on Twitch or YouTube under the same name. Live when I can be. Little context. This is actually the first time I've played Overwatch since about April of 2024. So it was actually quite nice to hop back on, and Vendetta is what ultimately kind of dragged me back in. She looked like a interesting character, and I'm happy to report that she's actually really fun. Easily now one of my favorites in this game. Little background to my Overwatch experience. I've always been pretty above average. I peaked at Diamond while doing comp, but never really focused on comp all that much, nor was Overwatch ever my main game. And so, could I have gone further? Yes. Will I? I don't know. Vendetta, as a character, has this really interesting balance of fantastic dive capabilities, being able to just go and harass an enemy's backline or their healers pretty much alone with minimal to no attention and babysitting from your healers, while also being incredibly strong in those team fights, in those brawl scenarios, where you can be right there up front with your tank and go pretty much ignored entirely because the enemies just don't shoot at you for some reason, whether it be tunnel vision or just Vendetta's too small of a hitbox. I'm not too sure. While playing her, I also noticed that she's an incredible 1v1 character, in which it's just me and just an enemy, and I almost always come out on top, even against tanks like Roadhog, who have that self-sustain and that ability to heal, as well as do all their damage up front, up close. It's not to say this character is easy or completely brain dead. I don't think so. I believe that there is this high learning curve to her. First several matches I played was not doing very well. This is a character that has to be played a bit differently. You have to be aggressive. You cannot play passively in the backline. Any situation in which the enemy team can and does focus you, and you do not have the support of your healers while playing hyper aggressive, you will be shut down and you will be on the respawn screen more than you will be actually playing the game. I'll throw a hero information card up on the screen while talking for this next bit, but one thing I want to point out is her ult. From everything I saw when first trying her out, going in the hero range, reading her hero card, it doesn't say the ult has charge stages. And for the first probably like 4 games, I would just instant pop the ult, deal 2 damage, and be like, what? A bit confused. It wasn't until I saw an enemy Vendetta use her ult that then it clicked that this has charges. But when it does charge up, you do get max stacks. It does an insane amount of damage. It goes through almost all defenses, shields, and Zarya bubbles. If it does full damage and breaks the shield, it'll just deal full damage to the enemy. Kind of incredible. The other big thing to talk about with her abilities, because I feel that everything else is pretty straightforward, is going to be her passive, her onslaught stacks. It is crucial that you have these stacks going before you start engaging, especially if your opening attack is going to be your sword throw into an overhead, because you will die waiting for that overhead to actually go off. It is imperative that you have your stacks charged. And the easiest way to do that is with your little air slash when you block. But it does come at a cost. You're giving up your ability to block for early stacks going into a fight. And in doing so, you are much better off. But if you need to block and you have no block meter and your movement abilities are on cooldown, you will just die. And so it's something I'm trying to be more aware of, more thoughtful of in my own gameplay, so that I can maybe not just always open up a fight with my range slashes, and maybe rather come in behind or get stacks just through brawling and keep my block meter up, because it's also helpful to your healers. If it's you and a healer, your healer can be behind you while you get out by you blocking, but if you have no block charges, you can't do that. When it comes to perk selections, this does not feel like one of those characters that is just the obvious choice, both times. I would say for the minor perks, they're both good, but dependent. If I am in the early stages of a team fight, if I get this really fast, I'm in the second, maybe third team fight in the match, and one of my healers is dead, I will almost always take the overhead swing lifesteal because it helps sustain me. It is the only source of healing this character has. But if it's not, you know, in the middle of a team fight and I see very clearly my healers are enabling me to play super aggressively and I am kind of just slaying out on the enemy team, it's very much not a balanced experience in this quick play match, I will almost always take the higher onslaught stacks. 3 more stacks, 15% more attack speed, and I think it's 12% more movement speed is fantastic. And it will just enable you to continue to completely flatten the enemy team. For major perks, it's sort of the same situation. If I am consistently trading or am dying a little bit more often, whether it be I'm just too aggressive, the enemy team is picked up on what I'm doing, or my healers are getting picked or just aren't that good, no offense to the healers, then I'll oftentimes take Vengeance. And I think Vengeance is probably the right pick overall. But if I don't need it, if I'm never dying, if I'm being kept up, why would I take the perk that doesn't do anything? I'm going to take the extra Whirlwind Spin. But overall, I think the extra Whirlwind Spins are pretty weak. And so for my perk selection, I often lean to the healing overhead and the Vengeance for the major. In terms of counters that I've noticed while playing Vendetta, or things that are consistently shutting me down, any form of movement impairment, rat traps, roadhog hooks, the hazard ult, though I don't really see a lot of hazards, so wasn't that big of a deal. Anything, you know, May Blast 2, anything that would impair my movement will instantly shut you down. You are a very mobile character on Vendetta, and when they take that away from you, it's over. Zenyatta's Discord Orbs were also a massive problem. It requires your healers to give you way more attention, and it allows the enemies to focus you way harder. Ana's anti-grenades were also a problem. Not exactly a character-specific problem, admittedly, but it really shuts you down when you are right in the enemy's face and you cannot be healed. However, there's a bazillion Kirikos out there. You'll probably be okay. Characters like Pharah were surprisingly not that big a deal. It kind of, you know, melee character, what if I'm in the air where they can't hit me? Well, I can hit you. The overhead slash is ridiculously large, and the ranged attacks are pretty forgiving and pretty easy, and I can get in a Pharah's face and maintain myself up there very easily. Of the probably 2 games I played against the Pharah, one of which was a custom game and my friend was on the Pharah, I only died once, and otherwise I was really just dominating these Pharahs. The only other character of note is Lifeweaver. Lifeweaver can pull enemies away from you, which as a melee character, it means you can't deal damage to the enemies. And the tree can be rather annoying. It is just in your way. The pedal platform was really never that big of a deal. And Lifeweaver pulling is also not the most insane thing to deal with, because her E ability, her sword throw that you fly to, is not on a long cooldown. And if I have it on cooldown, I still have my onslaught stacks, I'm going to chase the enemy. And that's kind of what this character allows you to do, is you are just able to just keep being aggressive. Once, you know, 2 or 3 of the enemies are dead, even if your team is nowhere near you, you can just keep hunting down the enemy team. And it's fun. It's fun. If I were to give any tips to improve at Vendetta, assuming she isn't going to be nerfed or changed at all before release, would be to get in the mindset of being hyper aggressive. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. Be comfortable being alone. You will be in situations where it is you versus the entire enemy team, and sometimes you just have to take those fights, you know? Not always, but sometimes. You have to be comfortable playing without a healer constantly on you, and you have to be comfortable fighting at low health. That is not going to be a playstyle for everybody. I think especially in the lower skill brackets, this character is not going to be seen at all. And I think in the higher skill brackets, I don't really know. I think this character absolutely has the place to thrive, but those higher skill brackets are players that will know how to shut this character down instantly. And so I'm not sure how she's going to land, but in my skill bracket, where I play the game and in a quick play, so like it's not always equally skilled, she works. She's a fun character. That's about everything I have to say about Vendetta so far, but I do want to quickly touch on my experience returning to Overwatch as a whole. Like I said, haven't played since about April of 2024 before this hero trial, and I'm happy to say that the game is still quite fun. The game is still enjoyable. It still has that charm that Overwatch has always had. It still has that same 30-second loop that makes it quite fun, and I think that prolonged break is quite refreshing, because I'm interested in playing Overwatch. I'm interested in, next season, grinding out the battle pass, maybe playing comp in the future. And that's not something I felt when I left. When I stopped playing, the game felt kind of like a chore. And now it's just something fun. And that's good. That's a much more healthy mindset. In terms of systems that I missed, perks are the big one. I was aware that they existed. I was not sure of their implementation or anything, but I was aware that they did exist. Overall, I don't think it's bad. I do wish that there were more options, though. I would much rather see a pool of 4 to 6 perks, and then each game there's 2 that get randomly selected for your minor and your major, and that would add a lot of replay value. Admittedly, it probably would take away from what is meant to be somewhat of a competitive experience, but I would hope, at least if that were to be implemented that way, it would be your team's Mercy has the exact same perks as the enemy Mercy, or perk options. I haven't played Stadium at all, or Return to Comp. I do not know much about Stadium other than it exists. I haven't tried it. I'll try it in the future, maybe make a video on it. And I haven't touched Comp. I don't know if Comp has changed. I don't know if Comp has perks. I don't know if Comp is wildly different from Quick Play now, but I would imagine not. But I'm not going to comment on it at all. What I will comment on, however, is monetization. Monetization in Overwatch 2 has never been good. It has always felt like a step down from loot boxes. I understand they had to get rid of them, except now they're back, I guess because they're not paid, so they can have them now. But the monetization in this game feels horrendous, especially the Mythic Shop. I was aware that the Mythic Shop was added, but I was not sure how it was added. And seeing the prices, this is ridiculous. $80 for one Mythic skin when they were $10 in a battle pass is crazy. That is ridiculous. And I'm aware that the battle pass still gives enough Mythic prisms for one, I'll call it fully upgraded Mythic skin, even though you have the iridescent and gilded skin that isn't involved in the cost there. But $80 is insane for a skin in a game. I don't know how big a deal this is for the community as a whole, and I will tell you, it is certainly not a game changer for me. It is not I'm not willing to play or even potentially support this game because of the fact that it is there. But I'm likely never going to spend money on a Mythic skin when it's $80. I would struggle to buy a Mythic skin at $20 or $25. These are the prices of games, of, admittedly, smaller indie games, sure, for $20, but $80? I don't know. It seems crazy to me. On a less negative note, the new characters. I think the characters that I missed are quite interesting. The last hero I played was the Venture Hero Trial, and I liked them. They weren't, enough to make me want to stick around for the season, but I thought they were fun. Of the new heroes that I missed, I think Hazard has become my favorite. I only had one good game on him, but it was a really good game. And originally, I was not a fan of Hazard. The first few times I played Hazard, I was I was very lukewarm on his kit. And then it started to click. I started to see how things work. I started to stick it out more. And I was interested. I was into this character, even if visually I am not the biggest fan of him. No offense to the Hazard sims out there. In terms of the most visually appealing character, I think it would have to be Juno. I think she fits right in with the original Overwatch cast. Same as Venture. I think Venture does as well. Visually, she's interesting. The Martian design. That's cool. Her kit, however, it didn't jive with me. Maybe I need to put more time into her, but it was just not a playstyle on healer that I tended to enjoy. I suppose for context, I enjoy playing Moira, Mercy. I've fallen off on Lucio. Lucio was always like, hey, I saw a Frogger video. That's pretty cool. I want to be that good. And I was okay as Lucio, but I don't think I ever would have taken Lucio out of Diamond, and low Diamond at that. I also enjoy playing Brig when I can, when the meta allows it. And Juno just really wasn't jiving for me. I think on the complete opposite end of that, Freya, however you pronounce it, is quite fun and strong. Visually a little boring, not bad looking, but a little boring. But she was quite fun, and her kit felt good. My least favorite of the new characters, Wu Yang, I believe how it's pronounced. I do not like his kit, even a little. I have tried to play him a few times. I have really given it an effort. I cannot stand this character. This character is so boring and just feels utterly terrible. In terms of visual design, it does kind of feel like he's from a completely different game. It doesn't really feel Overwatch. Not to say that it's bad. It just is very bland. Not really that Overwatch look. I would say Vendetta does nail the look. She's interesting looking without being way over the top or flashy, and her weapon effects rival those of the mythic effects. It's quite good. I would love to see a mythic weapon skin for Vendetta because I think it's just going to go crazy. Of course, I don't want to pay $80 for it, but you know. Otherwise, I think that's about all I have to say. I have enjoyed coming back to Overwatch. I think I'm probably going to end up sticking with it for a little while, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do like, comment, subscribe, all of that. It helps out a lot. And check out the Twitch stream over at Untoasted Balls, same as this channel. You know, Toasted Balls was taken, so that's what I landed on. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see y'all next time when I see ya.